Alright, now when we talk about gaming devices, we usually have a lot of phones to choose from, both from the likes of Snapdragon and MediaTek processors. But the newly launched MediaTek Dimensity 8100 processor has proven to be a champ when it comes to gaming devices. And this right here is the Redmi K50i, which honestly is one of the best gaming oriented devices that you can use. Now, that's not to say it's a proper gaming phone like your ROG devices, but then again, if you are someone who is very heavily invested into mobile gaming or just wants a device primarily for gaming and then something else, the Redmi K50i is a solid recommendation. At least that's what most folks will say. But has the device stood the test of time? And more importantly, should you pick this up in the upcoming sales? Let's find out. This is Varun from GTR and you're watching my long-term review of the Redmi K50i. Let's get started. Alright, so kicking things off, let's start by talking about the design here. And right off the bat, I have to say, by any means, this does not look like a gaming phone. In fact, if anything, this looks like a slightly cheaper version of the 11T Pro. But I don't mean cheap in a bad manner. I mean, of course, it's not as premium as Xiaomi's premium flagship devices. But then again, the finish here is very subtle, but yet this shiny back in itself screams, well, at least it screams something. I'm not sure what it screams, it's just a very loud scream, that's for sure. The phone weighs 200 grams, which makes it a little bit tough for one-handed usage. However, for two-handed usage, the weight is perfectly balanced, which is great, despite having a big camera bump. Now you get an X-axis linear motor here, and the haptic feedback of this device is amazing. In terms of protection, you get Gorilla Glass 5 protection up front, while the body and the frame are plastic, but honestly, the build quality is pretty good, considering the fact that we have been using this phone in and out, and honestly, the phone has survived a couple of drops as well without any issues whatsoever. One more thing I'd like to highlight is that because it comes with an LCD panel, the phone obviously ships with a side-mounted fingerprint scanner. Personally, I have no issues with it. I any day prefer side-mounted fingerprint scanners because that's where your thumb naturally rests. So if I'm given a choice between in-display fingerprint scanners and side-mounted fingerprint scanners, I would still pick a side-mounted scanner even if the display is AMOLED. Speaking of which, let's talk about the display in itself. The Redmi K50i comes with a 6.6-inch 144Hz LCD panel with a whopping 270Hz touch sampling rate. And content consumption on this is absolutely amazing as far as LCD panels go. And that same statement applies for outdoor legibility as well, because the panel comes with a peak brightness of 650 nits in the high brightness mode, where Xiaomi also boosts the contrast to, improve the readability. Personally, it's great considering it's an LCD panel. Of course, it's no match for a proper AMOLED device. But then again, you have to understand, as far as LCDs goes, this one is the brightest that I've used so far. Of course, aiding the display department, you have the stereo speakers here, which are not only quite loud, but also quite crisp. Add to that, there's support for Dolby Atmos and the fact that the device comes with Hi-Res certification for both wired and wireless audio. Which basically means if you're watching high quality content, both the display and the audio department are going to be amazing. Alright, so next up, let's talk about the camera here. You get a 64MP primary sensor coupled with an 8MP ultrawide sensor, a 2MP macro sensor, and up front, there's a 16MP shooter for selfies. Now, I'll just give you a quick rundown of the camera. I won't be dwelling too much into depth here because this is a long-term review and this wasn't anyway designed as being the best camera device out there. With that being said, the camera performance here is quite capable and it's much better than most of the other devices in the same price segment. So in normal daylight shots, the results that you get are pretty good. The colors are as per your liking. You get slightly vibrant colors, but not oversaturated by any means. The images are sharp, well detailed and quite structured as well. The HDR performance in itself is decent for most part, but I feel that the shadows are crushed sometimes in order to compensate for the dynamic range. Moving on to human shots, while the overall result does look good, one thing that I noticed is that when you switch to the portrait mode, the end result looks slightly softer in comparison to the normal shot. With that being said, the good part is that the edge detection is pretty good. Switching up to selfies, I would say that it can't handle bright and dark scenarios in a proper way, which basically means that the HDR here is a little bit sluggish. But at the same time, if you are shooting in ideal conditions, the overall output is going to be more than satisfactory. Turning things down to low light performance, and as you can see on your screen, there is some evident noise and graininess, but then again the night mode does a decent job altogether. Lastly, we have videos, and while the phone does support a peak output of 4K 30 FPS, there is no stabilization on offer here, at least on the hardware level. You do get EIA stabilization here, but the output is, well, decent enough, as you can see on your screen. Alright, so that was the camera department. But of course, if you are going to be considering the Redmi K50i, it's not for the camera. It's definitely for the performance at that price. So let's just talk about how good the Dimensity 8100 is on this device. The benchmarks are on your screen, and as you can see, they're amazing. What's more is that in a 15-minute CPU throttling test, while most MediaTek devices do throttle a lot, the Redmi K50i only throttled to just 92% of its peak performance, which is amazing. And of course, when you talk about gaming performance, the phone outputs amazing results, and you can easily game on this for hours. That's also due to the fact that the phone comes with excellent cooling thanks to 7 layers of graphite and a big vapor chamber as well. Apart from that, as for day-to-day usage, as you would expect, the phone is excellent and you have zero lags whatsoever. Of course, a good credit of that goes to the software department as well, and the phone does come with MIUI 13 based on Android 12. Of course, being MIUI, the phone does come with some pre-installed apps, but the good part here is that all of them are easily uninstallable. Also, one more thing that I'd like to credit to this device is the fact that in a lot of recent Xiaomi devices, I've noticed some couple of bugs keep popping up in the software department. Overall, the experience of the Redmi K50i has been super stable. I haven't noticed any sorts of bugs anywhere. So the update process has been like actually pushing out security updates and features and not bug fixes per se, which is pretty good. Lastly, there's the battery life, and the phone comes with a 5080 mAh battery with support for 67 watt fast charging. And the good part here is that the charger is provided inside the box. Now, in terms of battery life itself, the Dimensity 8100 is a power efficient processor despite being a flagship processor, and more importantly, you get an LCD panel which comparatively consumes less energy, so the phone easily lasts an entire day of heavy usage. And that is very important because, again, if you're going to be buying the Redmi K50i, you will most probably be pushing it. Which brings us to the verdict. Is the Redmi K50i worth it? Well, the phone starts at Rs 26,000, and at that price point, it does have a lot of competition cut. If you're not a gamer, then there are better options available that have a more improved camera and also offer you an AMOLED panel. There are plenty of options. With that being said, in the upcoming Diwali sale that Xiaomi is offering, the phone will be up for grabs for under Rs 20,000. And at that price, this is a no-brainer. If you're looking for a gaming device, this happens to be the best gaming phone under Rs 20,000 at that price point. So yeah, if you are a gamer, like if you are someone who values performance and puts performance at the top priority, is happy to live with an LCD display, because mind you, despite being LCD, it's the best LCD display out there. Sure, it's not as good as AMOLEDs, but again, LCDs have their own advantages. And in that aspect, this is the best LCD panel. And if you're okay with that, the Redmi K50i offers a staggering amount of value for money, especially for under Rs 20,000. So yeah, if you can pick it up in the upcoming sales, it's a solid recommendation from us. And well, that was it. If you found this video helpful, make sure to let us know by giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel for more awesome tech content. Till then, this is Varun from GTR, and I'll see you in the next one.